Hey there, Blue Yeti Nano here. Thanks for stopping by. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add an opt-in or subscribe form to a website built using the Wix platform. Now, before we get started, if you find this tutorial helpful, please hit that thumbs up button below and be sure to subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on the latest Wix tutorials. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Luigi Jacobellis to make sure that you don't miss out on any of my new content. Last but not least, if you're interested in learning more about the tools that I use to produce these videos, check out the links in the description below. Now let's go ahead and get started. All right, now I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can add subscribe forms or opt-in forms to your Wix website. I'm going to start by showing you how to use the out-of-the-box functionality that is available in Wix, and then I'll show you how to use some other tools and applications that can help you do this. Now I am going to show you using a copy of one of my websites that I've built on Wix. And so the first thing that you want to do is you want to scroll over to the left and click on the add button. Okay. And then you want to click on interactive. Now you'll notice here that there is a category called lightboxes. That is the name that Wix gives to subscribe forms or opt-in forms. So you can see here, if you click on subscribe, Wix features a ton of pretty aesthetically pleasing out-of-the-box pop-up forms that you can use here and that you can customize to meet your specific needs. Now what I am going to do is I am going to use the subscribe grayscale. So you want to go ahead and click on whichever one of these you want to use. And what that is going to do is that's now going to add this pop-up form to your website page. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'll quickly run you through some of the menu options here. So you can see this manage lightboxes button. Clicking on this is actually going to open the menu and pages button here, and you'll notice that there is now an option to click lightboxes. So essentially what this is if you ever want to configure these lightboxes after you publish them, you can easily come in here to access them. You can see here I currently only have this subscribe grayscale that I just added, and if you click on the three dots, you can either rename this, duplicate it, or delete it, or click into the settings. And you can also add another lightbox easily from here. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is the set trigger. So again, these opt-in forms or subscribe forms can be triggered in various ways. So setting triggers is where you come to actually configure what triggers this. And in the lightbox settings menu, the first thing that you want to do is give this lightbox a name. So I'm just going to call this home form. Okay, and it's important for you to designate these lightboxes with unique names so that if you ever want to actually access the table that will store the form data, it's easy for you to identify. Now, the next option is to determine whether or not you want this form to automatically display on pages. And you can see here by default, it's set to yes. Now, if you click on this little blue button under which pages is it on, this is going to allow you to actually designate which of your website pages this form should be displayed in. So you can see right here, by default, since I added it to my home page, it's only going to be displayed on my home page. If I wanted this to, for example, appear on my shop page, I can check that and this form will also appear there. Now, you can also see here this option that says first page visitor sees. You can check that. And so essentially it's going to check all of your pages, and wherever your website visitor lands, they're going to be shown this opt-in form. So it's a handy little trick for you to use as well to optimize trying to get people to subscribe to your mailing list. Now I'm going to close this, okay? And the next thing that you are going to configure here is with respect to our trigger. Okay, so you'll see this delay in seconds. Essentially what this is that we're actually building a pop-up form that will be displayed whenever a person lands on a particular page. Again, in this case, any of our pages. And so you can actually configure the time it takes before this form appears. Okay, so by default, it's set to 2 seconds. That means when somebody ends up on your page, it's going to take approximately 2 seconds for this form to pop up. Okay, I'm going to set this to 5 seconds. 5 seconds is usually a good threshold for forms to be displayed so that you're not detracting from the actual content that your visitor is on your website to access. And the last options here to configure is how does the lightbox close? Okay, and you can see by default, there is a X icon that allows individuals to actually close this out. So if you toggle this off, you can see here that there is no option for somebody to actually X out of this completely. Okay. Alternatively, you can add a close button. Generally, it's good practice to either have an X or a close button. You don't want to force people to opt in or to just leave your website if they can't get out of these pop-up forms easily. All right, so I'm going to use a close button for allowing my visitors to choose not to subscribe. All right, that's how to configure your Lightbox settings, including which pages it should be displayed on, what its trigger is, and how much of a delay there should be before it actually gets displayed to your visitor. Now, the next option to configure with your forms are the layouts. So clicking on the layouts button here is going to allow you to adjust the actual form in terms of where it should be displayed on the page when it pops up. So you can see here, you can use this handy little overlay button to allow you to easily select where it should be displayed, or if you wanted to manually adjust the offset, you could do that. Okay, I'm just going to leave this square to the center of the page, and I'm going to click X to X out of it. Now, the next option is to actually configure the design of your forms. So clicking on this little pen icon is going to allow you to change the actual appearance. So again, you can use out-of-the-box images or backgrounds from Wix. If you wanted to perhaps add your own image, you could click on image and either select stock photos that are available or upload your own. Okay. If you wanted to add a video as well, you can click on the video icon, and again, you can either use stock media or you could upload your own videos as well. Okay, so pretty handy. If you click on the settings here, this is going to allow you again to configure the actual design settings. So depending on how much of opacity or transparency you want in your image, for example, the actual background color, where it should be positioned, and if you wanted to provide some text as well. Okay, so you could easily configure those settings. Now the next option is the animation button, and essentially what this is going to allow you to do is to configure some animations or transitions. So you can see here, you can easily click on any of these to apply some sort of animation to this. Okay, and if you click on the customize button, you can actually configure direction and the type and the duration, etc. So that's essentially how to add the form and set the triggers, adjust the layout on the page, and apply design elements to it. The next step is to actually work with the form data. So clicking on the form is going to bring up a different set of menu options. So we'll start with the actual form settings. Okay, and clicking on this again is going to allow you to configure different settings. So the first thing that you can do here on the main tab of the form settings is you can actually manage your subscribers. Okay, and you can actually view the data table that will be used to store submissions by clicking on View Submission Table. Okay, and in this case, once I publish my site, this table will be visible. Now, the other things that you can do here are set up email notifications. So clicking on this option, you can actually choose to be notified or alerted whenever somebody actually fills out this form. Okay, and your options are either your site team, and in this case, I am the only person who works on developing my website, or if you wanted to put in other email addresses, you could do that as well. Okay, the next option is the submit message. So here you can actually choose what kind of confirmation or success message you would like to be displayed, and you can see by default show success message is clicked, and you can customize your message By default, it reads "Thanks for submitting." You could also implement a redirect, so you could just send your subscribers, once they submit the form, to another lightbox or another page, okay? And you can click on the link to actually choose where you want them to go. So if you want them to be redirected to a particular page, again, you could select page and choose whichever one you want. By default, it will be the current page that they're on. If you wanted to redirect them perhaps to another website, you want to try to upsell them. If you're, you're dabbling in e-commerce, you could easily do that as well. Okay, or if you wanted to perhaps pass them into another lightbox, you could actually do that from here as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this as on the current page, which in this case is home, and I'm going to click done. All right, now just very quickly, I will run through some of the other options here. So clicking on conditions, you could actually specify some particular rules to add functionality or behavior to this form. So clicking on conditions and then add rule is going to bring up some if-then blocks. So you could, for example, select your email field. So if email is not filled, I can check this, then do something. And if I click on the drop box, I could perhaps click on my submit button, and you can see here, then the submit button is hidden. Okay, so for example, if the email field is not filled out on the form, then hide the submit button. So this is to give you an idea of some of the behavior that can be added to these forms. Now, clicking on contacts, what this is going to allow you to do is actually apply labels, okay, to your subscribers. So clicking on this drop down, this is going to show you a list of the labels that you have implemented in your Wix site. And so by default, it's automatically going to flag them as subscribers. And, again, you could apply different labels. Now, this is useful if you're trying to segment your subscribers based on where they actually opted in. For example, if they opted in on a particular piece of content, that you might flag that they're interested in that content, for example. And then very quickly, in terms of automation, so you could actually create some automations. And again, some of this will be tied to your Wix subscription, but you could send a thank you email, for example. So clicking on this is going to allow me to move into my automations area of the Wix website builder, where you can actually create some automations. I'm not going to go into that in depth in the tutorial, other than to show you the interface. So for example, clicking on automations from the form is going to bring us right into the automations menu, and it's going to populate our trigger, which is when a visitor submits the particular form, and then you can go ahead and specify what Wix should do, which is send an email to the contact. And there's some other actions here, and you could actually come in and configure a template email that should be sent. So again, I'm not going to get into that in this tutorial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my form as is, and I'm going to click out of the Get Subscribers. So if I wanted to actually edit the text content, I can do that by clicking on this text box, and I can actually click on Edit Text, and that's going to bring up the text settings where I can come in and configure, for example, different fonts, the size, okay? I'm going to X out of that. Now, the next most important part of your opt-in form is the ability to add new fields. Okay, so right now we're just asking visitors to pass in an email to us. Perhaps you also want to collect a first name. If you go ahead and click on Add a New Field, this is actually going to allow you to add additional fields to your opt-in form. Okay, now again, you can see Wix is pretty handy. It has sort of all of your basic individual information fields here sort of created. So I could easily just click on first name, and it is going to add that to this particular form. Or if I wanted to add any others, for example, if I wanted to see what other options or perhaps create a custom field, I could click on basic fields and select from the different types. And then clicking on advanced fields, you sometimes might have a use case to have people provide files or signatures, and you can see here that you would be required to upgrade to a premium plan if you also see this icon. Now, in terms of anti-spam, often you might see reCAPTCHA boxes on opt-in forms. It's good practice, and really what this is going to do is going to ensure that you don't have bots spamming your website and signing up to your mailing list. So this kind of provides a measure to ensure that it's an actual person filling out this form. And I am going to actually just delete this for demonstration purposes, and I did that by clicking on the element and just clicking delete on my keyboard. Now, that is how to add an opt-in form. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll preview this so we can actually see what it looks like in action. So I'm going to click on the preview button. And you can see here that the opt-in form slid in from the right, just as we designated, and I could go ahead and fill this out. Okay, and you can see here this was the email field. And I wasn't able to submit, and I need to put in my first name, and I'm going to go ahead and click submit, and there you go. Now again, to get back into the actual opt-in form, I want to click on my navigation menu and click on my lightbox, which I called home form, and it's going to bring this up for me to edit again. All right, now I am going to show you how to add an opt-in form using a third-party tool called ConvertKit. If you've never heard of ConvertKit, it is a fantastic tool for building landing page and subscriber forms. The best part of it is that there is a free tier, so you can actually use this without having to sign up to a paid plan. And of course, if you do sign up for a paid plan, you're going to benefit from a ton of additional functionality. Now, if you are interested in signing up for an account, I do have the link to access ConvertKit in the description below, so definitely check it out. Now, just very quickly, I'm not going to show you how to create an opt-in form in ConvertKit in depth, but I will just quickly show you some of the available options out of the box in ConvertKit. So you can see here you have, again, the option to create a landing page or a form. If I click on form, you can actually choose to create an inline form, a modal form, slide in, or perhaps a sticky bar that is just fixed at the top of your website. Okay, so again, it is a very, very powerful tool, and it's incredibly easy and intuitive to use. And you can see again that there's a ton of modern, contemporary looking templates all available right out of the box. Now, what I will show you how to do is I will take an existing opt-in form that I've created in ConvertKit, and I'll show you how to add that to a page on a Wix website. And so I will just click on my main page, ebook, opt-in. And again, one of the additional benefits of using ConvertKit is you can actually add in your opt-in incentive, like your ebook or your checklist, and you can have your website visitors, your subscribers, actually get a copy of a particular file once they've verified their subscription. And again, there's no cost for that. So you can see here, I've built my opt-in form. Okay, and again, you have different options here as to how you can configure this. Just very quickly clicking on settings. Again, I can show you here the success message, and in terms of being able to provide your subscribers with an incentive, it is as easy as clicking on incentive and actually adding your content here. Okay, so it's very handy. Now, after you create your opt-in or your subscribe form in ConvertKit, to add this to your Wix website, you want to click on the embed button, okay? And you have different options here. If you're using, for example, WordPress, which we're not talking about, we're talking about Wix, you can actually do this fairly easily. To add this to Wix, you want to click on HTML, and you want to click on copy, okay? And now I'm going to go back to my Wix site, and I'm just going to exit here. And what you want to do is you want to click on add, okay, and you want to click on embed, and here we're going to click on embed a widget, and you can see here the description is use HTML code to add widgets and apps. So I'm going to click on this, and now you want to click on enter code, and you want to paste in your HTML. And then you want to click on update, and you are going to see that your opt-in form has been added. So that's very, very easy to add an opt-in form. Now I'm just going to rearrange my page here so that I can add my opt-in form cleanly, and I'm just going to drag my blog post down on my page, and I will put my opt-in form here, and I can easily just resize this so that I can display the full form. Pretty seamless, pretty easy. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and preview this, and there you go. I can go ahead and I can fill this out, and I'm going to receive an email asking me to verify my subscription, and then once that email is verified, I am going to be sent my free opt-in incentive. Okay, so personally, I do use ConvertKit to manage my subscribers. I do find it pretty easy and significantly better than Wix. And again, if you don't want to purchase the Wix Premium Ascend plan to do things like segment your subscribers, that functionality is available for free using ConvertKit. So highly recommend you check it out. And again, I've put links to ConvertKit in the description below. All right, so that's it. In this tutorial, I showed you a few different ways that you can add an opt-in or subscribe form to your website built on the Wix platform. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button below. Please drop a comment, and most importantly, be sure to subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on the latest Wix tutorials. I'm Louis Jacobellis. Thanks for stopping by. Talk soon.